Gundam.tk presents High Grade Baqto. Hey again everybody, it's Robert184, 2 R's 2 B's from Gundam.tk, which is GundamReviews.net, and as the first generation of Gundam Age is coming to an end, yes, it's time to round out the UE lineup. We've got the Gafran and the Zetas, but it's time to add a little bit of muscle in the form of the Baqto, which is unusual for me because I haven't built the AG for comparison, so let's go straight to the high grade. This kit came out in December 2011 and sells for 1,500 yen. Made by Bandai with some pretty cool looking cover art, especially with that green and gold there on the chest. It's number 8 in the high grade 1144th line, and there it is, OVVA. The faceless enemy that is the UE. We've only got the Gafran and the Zetas, and the Age one was able to take out the Gafrans pretty quickly. The Zetas, of course, is going to require a little bit of Sparrow speed to take it out, but when the Baqto first showed up, the normal couldn't do anything with its beam rifle, and it required the strength of Titus, plus a little help of Wolf in the form of the GXs to really take care of them, as you may have seen in my teaser. But the Baqto made a pretty good impression on me just because of its size and bulk, and it looks like a much better version of the Gafran, and with some of the flaws with the Zetas, especially the transformation, the Baqto may actually come across as being my favorite UE suit. Boxster now, where I've become very accustomed to seeing all these plates. That A plate has 4 colors in there, white and gold, grey with the green, another plate of a darker grey perhaps, and then we've got a front looking shot which is looking pretty good. I wonder if these skirts are going to get in the way, but it looks like there's a lot of color apps there. I'm talking the front of the legs, below the chest, and on the shoulders, and I have to say, again, that's an attractive MS design. Over here you've got the tail slash weapon, which is going to be familiar for anybody who's built the Gafran. And if you like the Gafran and its beast mode transformation, and you didn't like the Zetas and a duck, I don't know what you're going to think about this, because it looks like he's just flying Superman style with his arms down slightly. So I don't really know how much of a transformation this is going to be. At least the legs do open up a little bit. In terms of gimmicks, it may be useful, but it's not something that you're probably going to show off too much, because it's pretty much, as I said, the MS, just with its wings up. The tail is looking good in flight mode, but the most important thing for me is this whole beam spike, which is basically just a massive cannon that it's got in its chest. It's going to be made out of clear parts, which is fantastic. We've got the hands that we've already seen on the Gafran and Zetas, but it's this kind of pose, and yes, the tail weapon slash coming down below his legs, that's actually looking really sharp. The other side has the Age monologue there, and you can very small make this out. Yes, remember when the Baqto was really giving it to the Genoese, until, yes, there's a whole bunch of pink beams showing up from a Dodds rifle or two. Here again, it's looking great in the line art, and then it's going to talk about how it attacked Fardane, which was a little bit too long in the anime arc. If you want to check out my anime reviews, you can see all my thoughts on that. But without painting, the most important thing is the model. It's going to look good right out of the box. You can see plenty of color apps, including the all-important yellow there in the chest. Inside the box, you're going to be getting an A plate and a dark gray plate underneath, which has 4 colors on it, and some seals. You're going to be getting polycaps, 2 plates of green, and the manual, so less plates than I expected. The reason I say that is just because the Baqto's box is a little bit higher than the Zetas's and much bigger than the Sparrows, which I bought at the same time. But you can see from the plates that, especially with the wings and some of those leg ones, that the plates are just a little bit large, which explains why the box just needs a little bit of extra height. The A plate looks great for a couple of reasons. First of all, you're going to have these white parts, 9 of them up there. They aren't quite pure white, but anyway, they are going to stand out compared to the green of the rest of the body. This gray here is going to be the same as the B plate, so don't expect too much color variations. But this green is very good. It's very similar to a Zaku, but just a little bit different. You're going to have the 4 manipulators there. These ones are going to have the beam Vulcans actually built in, whereas these ones have the holes so that they'll pop through. You've got the parts here for the head, but the most important thing is that this beam spike is going to be made up of this one clear part, which goes back to the clever engineering that they've been using in Age. Yes, one part underneath this hollow part here is going to reveal what looks like 5 different colors, and you're even going to get seals to accentuate that if you choose. All the plates are unique, including the B plate, although you're going to see a lot of familiar things to the Gafran. You've got the limbs in here, the waist section. The most interesting parts are going to be these ones, which are going to open up on the legs and provide some sort of thrusters when it's in its quote flight mode slash just leaning a little bit forward. But it's still cool to see that you've got all these little details like the 3 Adidas stripes, which is hopefully going to add a degree of realism to this MS design. This big C plate is going to start to bring things home. You've got the tail slash beam rifle in its 2 parts there, And the wings, not a lot of parts and not a lot of lining possibilities either. You've just got a little bit of a very slight channel there. After you put the feet together, you're just going to have these small parts, which I'm assuming will attach onto the tail, similar to the Gafran, and that's pretty much it. Except for the D-plate with its shoulders, limbs, and you're going to have some really big parts there for the legs, and something to be careful of. When Bandai gives you big pieces like this, every once in a while they're going to get broken in transit, so you may have some ugly pock marks that a pro modeler will have to deal with, and for me, it'll just be my modeler's knife. The seals are looking sharp because, as you've seen with the Zetas and Gafran, just put that little bit of green in there, and the face is always just designed to show off just the right amount. It's going to look really sharp. And if you saw in that clear part, there were these little channels, and you can put these little diamond shapes inside if you choose to, so you can actually have two different colors of gold/orange showing off in the chest, or I suppose you could go all clear parts, but I wonder how this is going to look when it's put together. The cover art on the manual is the same on the box, and one of the reasons why I wanted to buy this guy along with just the design, but that flight mode, the more I see of it, the more I have to laugh. It's also going to show off its enemy. We have the Jira and the Zeno here, and those are two Zalam and Elba suits, which obviously they mattered in the story, but they didn't matter enough, even with Don Boyage's heroic sacrifice, enough to warrant getting even an AG, or never mind, an HG. Color splash page time, and that Baqto pose is looking pretty good with the arms down, and that tail coming through the legs, as mentioned, looks great, but I wonder the practicality of that with an action base. Standing up, it's looking pretty good, showing off those white parts, the tail looks sharp, and down there we have some scenes from the enemy, including the Zalam and Elba suits. The mechanics are going to give us the beam rifle down there, that head is looking sharp, and one of my favorite parts of transforming the Gafran was just having the head parts pop up. I wonder how that's going to look for this in both modes. And the weapons, the all-important beam Vulcans and that beam spike, you may be able to make out that there's two colors there. The clear gold under the orange seals. The tail can go up over the head, although it's going to look a lot better underneath. The Fardane mobile suits have already seemed to have been forgotten in this generation. And there's your color guide, including the beam spike for the orange. Orange 65, white 35. Pretty standard inside, there's just the 4 plates there, 40 yen a pop to replace missing parts, build the chest, build the head, the arms, the lower body, and the weapon/tail. The back page shows you how to bring the beam rifle tail over the shoulder, and yes, the transformation is so not complex that you're going to have all of these panels to tell you how to turn the arms forward and put in the right set of manipulators. And then you've got all these multiple steps again to bend the head up and open up the flaps. Once you get down here, you can bend the tail in a certain way, open up the wings, and the only real looking interesting part is that you can split apart these shins here, and it's going to look pretty sharp because you've got all those dark gray parts, which looked very good and aircrafty, so it adds a level of detail, and it looks like you're going to be able to attach an action base when it's in its flight mode. I wonder how that'll work as an MS. Not too many surprises here in the unboxing, except for the fact that you've got those extra parts there in the legs, which should open up, and the disappointment of the flight mode, which I had hardly paid any attention to until I looked at the side of the box. But anyway, as you can see, these Gafrans and Zetises spinning around here, I think the size, the bulk of the Baqto, and just its general MS design is going to be a great addition to this team. It would be nice to maybe have two to balance it out with the Gafrans, but that remains to be seen. However, are the parts going to work, and how about the model? I'd love to hear what you think about the MS and this video, of course, with a comment down below. But otherwise, see you next part where you'll see all the parts before it all put together. Anyway, thanks for watching. Robert184, gundamreviews.net. See ya. Seriously, in that first episode when the Baqto showed up, he looked pretty much unstoppable. Well, it's either villain decay or... yeah, I'm just awesome.